And I'm going to start the show in just a moment. And if you want to call in, you can do that. I'm going to pin the live call-in number in the live chat right now. You can do that. I'm going to pin. Hold on a second, guys. Okay. We'll be starting in just a moment, guys. Okie dokie. All right, and away we go. Here we go. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for joining. Did you guys catch the president's cabinet meeting today? This cabinet meeting may have been a world record cabinet meeting because it went on all day. It was like an all-day event. President Trump was there, the entire cabinet was there, and I was wondering who's running the country. Who's running the country? They're all there in the cabinet meeting. There were a couple of big reveals in the cabinet meeting that I'm going to get to in just a moment, which were just huge. But I also want to share really the incredible historical moment that we have at each and every one of these cabinet meetings. They're all historic. President Trump has televised live with the media these cabinet meetings. And they also get questions, the media, at the end. And what President Trump has done, which no one has ever done before, we have never seen what goes on during cabinet meetings before, ever. These are historical documents that we're watching. We are literally seeing history. Could you imagine if we had video like this of Franklin Roosevelt or President Kennedy's cabinet? It's amazing. And he's taken transparency of the presidential administration in the White House to a level that's never even been dreamed of before. And they should be very much appreciated, each and every one of these cabinet meetings. And, these cabinet meetings, what he does is so spectacular because what he's doing is he goes from cabinet member to cabinet member right around the table. They all report to him. They tell President Trump what they've done, what they're doing, and what they're going to do, each member of the cabinet. We've never seen anything like that before. The only thing we've gotten in the past from cabinet meetings was some photo ops with a little bit of video of them sitting around the table doing nothing. We've never seen what we saw today and in these other cabinet meetings as well. So that, just on the face of it, is amazing. And all of you out there that don't love President Trump like I do and MAGA world do, you really don't understand and appreciate what the gift is of President Trump's second term with this incredible amount of transparency. So we can see actually what the government is doing and what our president is doing. It just blows my mind. But there's a couple of things that I want to share with you from the cabinet meeting. And then you are welcome to call in. If you would like to call in, the number is toll free. It's pinned in the live chat. 888-465-2631, 888-465, oops, sorry about that, 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free number no matter where you are watching me right now. And again, it's pinned in the live chat, and you can see the number there and call in and share your thoughts. So there's a couple of things, though, from the cabinet meeting that I want to share with you that just blew my mind. Now, You know, the Democrats lately have been advocating in favor of crime. They're saying that this crime crackdown in Washington, D.C. is unconstitutional, and what the Democrats are out of their minds. That what they're saying is that criminals have a constitutional right to go out and do crime or something. That's what it seems to me that they're saying and doing. And this NTD reporter told a story of how she was robbed. I'm going to share this with you and play this. This was an amazing exchange in the White House press briefing room today. And NTD, they are Chinese dissidents. They are Chinese Americans, for the most part, who support freedom in China, and they're living in exile and reporting right here in the United States. So let me just play this exchange, which just blew my mind when I saw this. This is the president, the cabinet meeting's going on, and he points out to this NTD reporter and has her tell her story. Listen. No. Oh, can you imagine? Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Mm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that is, and she's a small woman too, and then she was pistol whipped. You have the president of the United States interviewing a reporter, and here's the thing: President Trump. I know it's freaky, isn't it? She's lucky to be alive. You know, President Trump has referenced a few times that the media. He said yesterday at one of the press conference in the Oval Office yesterday. He said, you and the press know you're not reporting how bad it is here. He says you can't even go to your offices without a security escort. That's how bad it's been in Washington. Now it's safe. And they're covering up this crime wave that's been going on. I mean, when you have people that are working at the White House that are being mugged, and you know, the thing about your computer, they wanted her laptop and they wanted her phone. And, you know, of course, the general thinking is, well, you know, you should give all that to them. Yeah, I guess, you know, but, you know, here's the thing. Your phones and your computers have everything on them these days. Look, remember the laptop of Hunter Biden's, the laptop from hell, and all the information. That's the gift that keeps on giving. But you do your banking online, so your if you have your cell phone or your laptop and you have access to it, and these muggings, they make people unlock their phones and computers before they leave, which they would have gotten her to do. They have access to your entire bank account. They could take that money and sell it to someone instantly, who, boom, puts it in some other account. Boom, it's gone. Are you into crypto? Do you have a crypto wallet app on your phone? They could take all your crypto. They've got all your passwords to everything. It's frightening. The amount of information that's on our phones today, isn't it? It absolutely is. So, these muggings, it's not just like they're taking your phone and, okay, I've got Apple Care, I'll get a new phone. They've got access to all of your personal information, all your and you wonder, these muggings, they're so violent, they're such a high-risk crime. What are they after? Right? They're after your bank account, your crypto, whatever other accounts you have. All of your passwords that are probably something they could sell on the dark web. And they're very highly likelihood that there's a organized criminal operation working in D.C., mugging these high-profile people with the press. That's at least 2 people from the press I know of that have been mugged at gunpoint. The other one was Brian Glenn, Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. He used to be with Right Side. Now he's is he with Real America's Voice now? Who's he with now? I think he's with Real America's Voice. So that's 2 reporters that we know of that have told their story of being mugged at gunpoint. Now, there was a fatal shooting in D.C., tragedy, man fatally shot in D.C., ending the 12-day no-killing streak. A man was killed in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday today, ending the city's 12-day no-killing streak since President Trump ordered federal agencies to assist local law enforcement with the crackdown on crime. Now, what do you think the liberals, the Democrats, and the Never-Trumpers did when they heard this? Do you think they were saddened that someone was shot dead like you are and I am? Or do you think they were high-fiving each other? What do you think they were doing, the Democrats and the Never-Trumpers? What do you think? At about 12:25 a.m. Tuesday, on Southeast Washington, Metropolitan police officers responded to reports of a shooting, according to the police department, The Hill reported. The officers found a man unconscious and breathing, suffering from a gunshot wound. He was transported to a local hospital where, after all life-saving measures failed, he was pronounced dead, the D.C. Metropolitan Police said, ending the 12-day streak. Well, it is a tragedy, no doubt about it, but there's also no doubt in my mind that the Democrats, the liberals, the Never-Trumpers, and the rest of those lowlives were high-fiving each other when they heard this tragic story. Oh, look. President Trump said yesterday, this streak will end, and then that's when they're going to jump all over everything. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'd like to stay anonymous and with MAGA. It's anti-MAGA. Is that okay?
You're anti-MAGA?
No, my family is, so I'd like to stay anonymous.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of living in, you're like a closeted Trump supporter in your family?
Yeah.
Why is your family anti-MAGA? What's their problem?
They're stupid.
Yeah. Well.
So I agree with Trump on most things. The one thing I currently disagree with him, and I'd like your opinion on this, is he's claiming that, 2 things actually. Number one, he's claiming that...
Your cell phone cut out. He's claiming what? Your cell phone cut out.
Burning flags is causing riots.
That what?
That he claims that burning the American flag causes riots.
He says it can incite violence. It can incite violence. Because some things are so offensive and upsetting. When people burn flags in protest, they typically burn a flag at a political event, right? Where there's 2 sides arguing about something. It may be pro-life, pro-choice. It may be no war, go to war. Maybe, I'm talking about a very divisive thing. It might be a debate on the Second Amendment or So you've got 2 sides at a political event that some are conservative, some are liberal. They're both very angry and passionate and screaming at each other. And burning the American flag can offend people so much in a heated situation that things could escalate, and that's called, it could incite violence. That's what he said, yeah.
You know, actually, now that you say that, and then the second thing was, crime has dropped over the past 2 years in D.C., so I'm curious as to why you think he believes that crime is on the rise and that he needs to essentially insert martial law.
Well, because there's not martial law in D.C.
Well, essentially.
No, not essentially. Nope. There's no martial law. Crimes was not down either. But let's start with it. When you say that Washington, D.C. is under martial law, what do you mean?
So it's under martial law, I said essentially, because when you send police to basically, it's basically as if they were occupying Washington, D.C., what they're doing currently.
Now, see, Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, are you aware that Washington, D.C. is not in a state? We have 50 states. And do you know that Washington, D.C. is not in a state?
Well, it's a district. It's not in a state. It's not state.
It's its own, yeah, right. It is Washington is in the District of Columbia. Do you know why Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, is not in a state?
Because that would give one state more power over the others.
No, it would give, if Washington, D.C. was in a state, that would mean that the state's government would have authority over the federal government. They would be in charge of that area. So the President of the United States, the Congress, and all of that, they would be under the governor and the state legislature. So that's why the capital is not in a state. Well, Washington, D.C. is not a normal city, right? Like any other city in America. It can be the town you live in, it can be the town I live in, or it could be New York City. Washington, D.C. is unlike any other city in the United States. It is not like whatever city you live in, just like the city I live in, is an independent city in a county that's in the state. I live in the state of Florida, okay? Washington, D.C. is not an independent, self-governing city. They have a mayor and a city council, but they're figureheads. Washington, D.C. is under the control all the time, since it was founded, of the federal government, and there's a congressional committee that oversees the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C. That's why residents of Washington, D.C. can't vote in the presidential election, and they don't have senators or House members who can vote. They have a delegate who has a voice but can't vote in Congress. So Washington, D.C. is always under federal control. Sometimes the federal government lets them feel like they're autonomous and independent, and then sometimes, in times of national emergency, the military moves in. After 9/11, the Second World War, the Civil War, and now when domestic terrorists, the criminals of the city, are terrorizing the Capitol, including people that work at the White House or the press. So no, it's not being occupied under martial law. Washington, D.C. has never been an independent city. It's always been under the control of the federal government. Always. That's why it's not in a state. Yeah.
But we're talking about local police. We're not talking about
the local police in Washington, D.C. work for the federal government. They're part of the federal government. They're the D.C. Metropolitan Police, but they work for the federal government.
Okay, I can.
I know it's for the same reason. Think about it. If Washington, D.C. was an independent city like your city, my city, New York City, Chicago. Oh, she hung up. I understand a lot. They don't teach this stuff in school anymore. I went to school in the 70s and 80s. We had the bicentennial, so we learned a lot, They don't learn anymore. All they learn is how to think about genders and stuff, okay? But if Washington, as I said to her, like Washington, D.C. is not part of a state, because the state government and governor would have authority over the president and the Congress, okay, and the military and everything else. If they were an independent city, Washington, D.C., the mayor and city council would have authority over the president of the United States. So no, it's not under a military occupation, and it's always been under the control of the federal government. Okay, I know that's all. A lot of people don't know that because, like I said, they just don't teach things in school anymore. What they teach you now in school is liberal crap. Really, I mean, our education system are liberal indoctrination centers and re-education camps all over the country and in all of our local neighborhoods. When I was going to school, we learned about all this kind of stuff. All right, 888-465-2631. You're on the air. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Once, twice. All right, you missed your chance. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, hold on. There you go. All right, you're on. Hold on 1 second here. Hold on. I hit the wrong button. All right. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Okay. We'll go for another one. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's going on, my friend? My name is Tristan. I'm from Denver.
Okay.
What are we talking about?
Are you watching the show on YouTube?
I am watching the show.
Well, then you've heard me talking for the last 20 minutes or so. The way it works is you listen to the show, you hear something, you have an opinion on, and then you call. You don't call and then have me run the show over to you and pitch your opinion. Come on. Let's see here. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, this is Sean from Massachusetts.
Hey, Sean, what's up?
Oh, you're so right about the system that the learning system and everything. I've just been thinking about that the last couple of days, especially when you've been mentioning that stuff and the education system and what kids are learning and what they're not learning and what these callers that you're getting. It's just unbelievably sad how ill-informed. And what's amazing about today's technology is that we have so much access to the right information if we're willing to look for it, and we have incredible books available. And it's just too bad that most people can't.
Well, this story that I just told about Washington, D.C., when I was growing up, every school kid learned this stuff. This is very basic fifth grade level social studies that I just shared about the District of Columbia.
Yeah, it's elementary, basic.
Literally.
It's just unbelievable that the crap that they're throwing down these kids' throats now, and it's just disgusting. I just wanted to get that out first, and I'm so grateful to have Donald Trump, being so transparent. Like we had this, this meeting and just showing everybody, and us, the American people, that he's not hiding anything. He's going to show us everything.
Yep.
There's no secrets,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I look for, and that's what I voted for, and I'm just so proud of him and what he's doing.
See, these cabinet meetings are so. All presidents are historic, but most of them are forgotten. Even Obama, his presidency was not very memorable. Clinton, the only thing memorable about him was the Lewinsky scandal. And certain presidents do things that are historic. Even if President Kennedy would have not been killed by the same people that shot the president in Butler and had 2 terms, a big significant thing of his presidency was he was the first TV president, really. He wasn't the first one on TV, but he was the first really TV president. And Donald Trump is the most transparent president ever. We have never seen these cabinet meetings ever. And we've seen, I don't know, what is this, the 4th or 5th one we've seen like this? And this was an all-day event. I mean, they're beautiful.
I mean, even if like I said, if Kennedy reached the height of, to a height he could have reached in his presidency, and he still wouldn't have reached the status. And no matter what age, because Donald Trump is a man that's just who he is. And then I think at any age that he had been in, he would have been sticking out because of his character, and his grit, and his wit, and everything else that makes this man so much greater than any president that's ever existed. I'm not just talking about in America. I'm talking about in the world.
Absolutely.
And I'm here for every second of it. And you know what? I just can't wait to see where he's going next. Chicago. I mean, I've been watching a lot of reports in Chicago residents.
The people that live in Chicago are Trump. Please come. Hey, listen, I got to run, but thanks for the call. Let me take one more call, then we'll break. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi.
Yes, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Christopher from Alabama.
Okay, Christopher from Alabama, speak up.
I was just curious. Do you like Trump?
Oh, I love Trump. Just look at my hat. It says Trump 2028. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. Thanks for tuning in. And I was talking about this historic cabinet meeting that the president had today. Let me take another couple of calls before I bring up some other things. There was a big reveal in the cabinet meeting I haven't gotten to yet. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is David calling from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
First time caller, first time listener. Hey, I was wondering if you could explain to me the significance of the hat that you're wearing.
Of what?
The hat that you are wearing.
The hat that I'm wearing. It says Trump 2028.
Yeah, can you explain what that means?
Well, sure. It's self-explanatory. You can read. I'm sure you can comprehend, right? What do you think it means?
Well, I think it means that you want to elect Trump again in 28.
Yeah, this hat, which I purchased from the official Trump store, you can buy these in the gift shop at the White House. The president showed them about a week or two ago. Yeah, I want Trump to run again in 2028.
But isn't it true, though, he's already on his second tour, so to speak, and it all prohibits him from running for a third term. Am I incorrect on that?
No, you're partially correct. This is indeed his second term.
Well, okay, where am I incorrect?
Well, the Constitution can be amended to allow him and anyone else to run again. Like, so we could amend the Constitution. President Trump could run in 2028, and then Clinton and Obama could run as running mates against him if they so chose. I mean, yeah.
So would that amendment have to be signed by the president?
Well, yeah, it's a changing of the law, sure, yeah.
So President Trump can sign an amendment that says that he can be president again.
Well, no, it says that he could sign saying that he could run for president again, and the people of the United States would decide who the president would be. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you're calling me. You say you're calling me from. You say you're calling me from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a great state. It's where all these things were created, right? So you know the Constitution.
It's one of the first 13 colonies.
That's right. That's right.
This is around exactly one of the first states.
That's correct. Yeah, Philadelphia, man. I've been to Independence Hall and all that. It's pretty cool. So the Constitution has been amended 27 times. 27 times it's been amended. Why not 28?
Now, I heard a rumor, and again, this is just, scuttlebutt, that Mr. Trump wants to do away with the poem at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Are you familiar with that poem?
Is this the give us your tired and poor and all that stuff?
Yes, and
No.
Lazarus' poem. He
No.
wants to do away with it.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Where'd you hear that at?
Okay, well, this is just what I heard. The reason being that he, because he's moving away from that, and he said we are not that nation anymore.
No, that first off, somebody, whoever said that just made that crap up. You're aware that his wife is an immigrant, and President Trump is a first generation.
Oh, okay.
President Trump is a first generation American on his mother's side. His mother is from Scotland. That's why he was, that's why he's got that beautiful resort where he was just visiting in Scotland. So no.
And from what I read about his history, his grandfather is from Germany, where he left there at a young age. I forget why. Why did he leave Germany?
It was either a grandfather or a great-grandfather. I don't know. There were great waves of people, and it was in the 1800s.
No, well, on his father's side, his grandfather.
Yeah.
I had heard that
Might have been a great-grandfather. I don't know if it was a grandfather or a great-grandfather. I don't recall offhand, but it was in the 1800s. Yeah. So his family is not an old American family. That's one of the reasons the political class don't like him, because they go back 200 years, right? Some of the people in Washington, their families go back to Independence Hall, the original, right, in 1776. So his family's only been over here, 150 years or less. And he's a first-generation American on his mother's side. He's been married 3 times, twice to immigrants.
We know very little about his mother, don't we? We know very little about his mom. I've never heard him speak of his mother.
He speaks of his mother all the time. He speaks of his mother all the time. He was talking about her every day in Scotland. Hey, I appreciate the call. You don't know a lot, but he talks about his mother all the time. Oh my goodness! He's a first-generation American, the president. So All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Jack. I'm from Cheyenne, Wyoming.
All right, what's up?
All right, my friend. So I want to discuss the tariffs that Trump has
perfect.
put in place.
That's the next thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because when I'm done with your call, you're going to lead me into my next soundbite. So go ahead.
Sure. Well, very good. Well, tariffs are one thing that I wanted to discuss. The other thing was the executive orders, and I think the executive orders are something that I want to discuss more than the tariffs.
Oh, I'm sure. But tell me about the tariffs first, because that's where I'm heading in the discussion.
Okay.
You support the tariffs because they obviously work.
A lot of them, yes, I do. Yep, absolutely. I think that there is a problem with the structure of the tariff.
No, I don't know. I don't know about all that, but this is in the cabinet meeting at the cabinet meeting today. The openly gay Treasury Secretary, reported to President Trump in today's cabinet meeting that was live on television that the tax revenue generated from the tariffs, because tariffs are import taxes, it has been $500 billion, and the deficit because of the tariffs has been reduced 26% in just less than 6 months. So that's 26% down the national deficit is, just in a few short months because of those tariffs. So they seem to be working out pretty well.
Anybody could sit here, and there's not a single person that could sit here and argue with that.
No, I know. I'm not trying to argue with you.
It's an arguable fact. That is a fact.
It is a fact. The Treasury Secretary said it today on television. It's a fact.
So let's discuss that then, right? The Treasury Secretary said it on
at the cabinet meeting. At the cabinet meeting to the president, and no one in the press took issue with it, even since he said it, because it's true.
I think my issue is the way that he's going about the tariffs, right? So let me explain myself for a second. I agree that other countries should be paying down their debt, their national debt, especially when it comes to massive country organizations, as far as things like the G7, things of that nature. So countries that are all together, that we are paying a significant portion of our GDP, and they are not, right? I understand that. I also understand the countries that we are in access to have what's the best word for it? Have an obligation, in my mind, to.
You're being. I got to tell you, you're being a little too cerebral, which is a nice way of saying terminally boring. Hey, you're a nice guy. I'm not trying to give her time, but here's the deal. The other countries around the world were ripping off the United States with the tariffs by having these out-of-whack tariffs against us compared to what ours were. And the president put in place the reciprocal tariffs, where whatever tariff they have is what we have on them. And the fact that, one of the biggest issues that presidents and people who follow the news and Congress and the news have dealt with over the years is the rising national debt. And President Trump, in less than 6 months, because the tariffs didn't go into effect right away, in less than 6 months has reduced the national debt by 26%. That's huge. He deserves a medal just for that. And it's all because of the tariffs.
I wouldn't say it's all just because of the tariffs, but I think that played a major part in it. I also have a question for you, and the question would be, where do you think Trump is going wrong as far as the reasoning behind his tariffs? Some of those tariffs, not all of them, not most of them.
Trump is never wrong. President Trump is never wrong.
Here's the real question. Do you think that he's having a personal vendetta?
Against
and then
who?
utilizing his personal vendetta or his personal arguments to then put
a vendetta against who and what? I don't understand the question.
Okay, so the question would be, do you believe in your mind that Trump is utilizing his power to then take these countries for certain things because they have said negative things about Trump?
No, there's no vendetta, and Trump's not wrong about anything. No, there's no vendetta. No.
So you don't believe Trump has any vendetta whatsoever?
Nope.
Okay, fair. Well, I appreciate that answer.
All right, appreciate the call. Welcome to the show. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, it's still Christopher from Maria. I think we got disconnected, and I just had a quick question.
I'm not interested in your question, okay? No, we didn't. I hung up on you, which I'm going to do again. Okay, so let me play. This is during the cabinet meeting today, and this is the Treasury Secretary. Listen. Amazing. Wow. That's right. So deficit down 26%, and they've raised through the tariffs, which are import taxes, $500 billion or $500 billion, however else you want to say it. Beautiful thing. So all of you out there who say tariffs don't work, well, they do. We have evidence now. It's not theory, it's evidence, proof. They have worked and continue to work. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, my name's Steve from Louisiana.
All right, Louisiana.
I got an interesting question. You said that Trump was one of the most transparent presidents that we've ever had within the United States, right?
I would say the most transparent.
All right, well, the problem with that is that right after John's report that came out that was bad, he had to fire the person that was in charge of that, the person that was in charge of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And also, the entire reason behind him invading D.C. was the fact that crime had gone up. Violent crime had gone down by 26%.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Slow down.
I'm not done.
Well, yes, you are. I'm going to respond to what you said, and then you can bring up more crap. Okay. The crime statistics and the labor statistics, okay, that you're referencing, crime's down and jobs aren't good. In both of those instances, the liberals in charge of those statistics were lying. The person that did the job numbers right before the election in the previous report artificially inflated the job numbers to help Kamala, and then later they were reduced. They were fired because they make up the numbers.
The problem with that is that that's actually a really normal thing to happen, right?
No, not make up the numbers. No. Excuse me. Slow down. It's not normal or appropriate to make up the numbers when you're in charge of keeping the stats. The crime stats that you're talking about, crime being down, first off, those crime stats, those books were cooked too by the crime statisticians. That's why they were let go. And how much crime is okay? There should be zero crime. The goal is zero crime. Okay? Not, well, it's down 16%, so, no, the goal is zero crime. But both the statisticians for the crime stats and the job numbers were lying, okay, and making the numbers up. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Scott. I'm calling from Kansas City.
All right, Scott.
Yeah, I heard a little bit of the conference today, and I heard President say a number that I've heard before. I'm going to bring up that number and maybe a couple of other numbers. He said from China they would bring in 63,000 students.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, how did that come about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's following on other numbers I've heard where we have 50 million illegal aliens plus 55 million green card and visa holders. So that's a lot of people from out of town.
I don't know about 50 million. I don't know about the 50 million illegals, but there were 55 million foreign visa holders that they're investigating. Yeah. Yes, they're investigating them. Yeah. But so far as the Chinese students, because I know a lot of people are giving President Trump a hard time about these Chinese students. So President Trump is allowing all these Chinese students in. Why do you think he did that?
Well, I don't know. I'm not in his cabinet.
Well, no, but I mean, but you've got some common sense. I'll tell you why. He is President Trump. See, as far as I'm concerned, you either trust Trump or you don't. Okay? President Trump has obviously made some type of deal that we don't know about with China, and he wanted something that they gave him. And he's allowing these foreign Chinese students here because he made a deal with something that's greater than that in his mind. So he didn't just do it for nothing. He had a very good reason to do it, and I trust in President Trump's decision-making power. And whatever deal he made, I'm sure it was a good deal. Maybe we may never know what the deal is, or maybe we will, but I trust in him that he made a good deal over this for some reason.
I know that you're a devotee. I tend to be a little more skeptical. Now, I know he's got some good people around him now, He didn't have under the first administration.
Well, no, think about it. Think about it. Why would Trump allow tens of thousands of Chinese foreign students in the United States? What other?
I don't know. That's the thing.
And we know that President Trump has a lot of problems with China. So there's something he wanted. There is something that he wanted from China, or wanted China to do. We don't know what that is. It's a secret, at least.
He wants something. Yes, of course.
He not just to want something. He got something. President Trump got something from China that's greater than the students.
Yeah, and that's why I'm talking to you right now. What is that thing?
We don't know. The president hasn't told us. We may never know. But I trust in President Trump.
I'd be a real rube, and you would be too if you didn't question. All right.
No, I don't. Why would you question him? Why would you question President Trump? Does President Trump not always put the country first, America first? Of course he does.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
But you asked questions.
And I gave you the answer. Does my answer satisfy you?
It's not exhaustive. You asked questions. After all, there's been a lot of Chinese espionage students. I even saw when I was in college.
Sure.
A lot of.
But don't you? You're a Trump supporter, right? You're a MAGA guy. We've talked before. You're a MAGA guy, right?
Yeah, but okay. I am a MAGA guy with some.
Okay, so now, but you asked the question. I gave you an answer. You know that my answer makes sense. So you know, don't you trust in Trump to make a good deal?
I would hope so. When he talks about this, I would hope that his people that he's got around him now, this time.
I mean, we could sit around. You know, one thing I've learned in life is if you try to guess specifically why somebody did something, you'll never guess the right reasons. But in this instance, I think just common sense tells us, see, President Trump's not some corrupt politician like that war criminal George Bush or that corrupt official Joe Biden or something. We know that President Trump puts America and Americans first. He knows that China is America's enemy. Right, he agrees with that, and he knows, and about the Chinese spies and the spy balloons and all that. He knows more about that than we'll ever know because he's president. So for him to make a deal to allow hundreds of thousands of Chinese students to go to school in the United States, he has obviously made a major, large, secret deal with China, and I trust in President Trump's judgment and love of this country and our great people that he got something more important than that.
Well, I guess I'm not a person who just goes by blind faith, and I'm not. Maybe I'm saying you're doing that. Yeah, I like Trump. I know that you really. When has he
betrayed us? When has he betrayed us? When has President Trump betrayed us?
He really hasn't.
There you go. Really hasn't or hasn't? That's right. Listen, I got to run. That's right. He hasn't. So remember that. All right. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'm Brian. It's the Brian Craig Show. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I'm Brian Craig. Welcome to the program. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe. Call us on hold, stand by, and if you would like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. It's toll free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. I want to talk to you about Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser away pain treatment. You know, Dr. Appleton's laser away pain treatment will rid you of every kind of pain I've ever heard of. He's rid me of pain 7 times. You know, I've had a lot of bad pain. All the pains suck, all right? Pain sucks. And that arthritis, though, I had in my hand, he rid me of my arthritis pain in my hand. That pain was so bad, I was almost in tears. You know, and I went to see Dr. Appleton, and I remember he said, Brian, he examined me, he says, you've got arthritis. And I said, I'm done. He says, no, the laser treatment treats arthritis. And he treated me, and my arthritis is gone, and it has not returned. And you know what? That's like a year ago. And he's rid me of pain 6 other times on top of that. Arthritis. This is an incomplete list, but this are some of the main pains that the laser away pain treatment treats. Listen to this: arthritis, bursitis, work and sports injuries, strains and sprains, repetitive motion injuries, post-surgical swelling, neck and back injuries, knee pain, right? You got rid of my knee pain as well. Tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain. The list goes on and on. I've met another listener who had arthritis pain in their neck that Dr. Appleton rid them of. That's 3 people I've met, all men, who had arthritis in their neck. Arthritis pain's bad. Have you ever had arthritis? Oh, it sucks. And their arthritis pain in their neck is gone thanks to Dr. Appleton and his laser treatment. Give him a call. We have listeners who have traveled from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton. Is that good? Appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Preston Paul from New York.
Hey, New York. What's on your mind?
So, a lot of things I hear what you're saying is that Trump basically tells the truth.
Correct.
And
always.
Statisticians have supported his truth, correct?
No, the statisticians that have in question that have been fired, the one at the Labor Bureau and the one in charge of the crime stats in D.C., they were making up numbers.
They were making up numbers. Where are they getting that information from that says that they were making up the numbers?
As an example, Stephen...
What sources?
I'm going to give you a source. Stephen A. Smith, who works for the president in the White House, he was in the Oval Office meeting yesterday. And he's been working with the Metropolitan Police Department, and he said they uncovered that people were committing murders and they were putting them in the books as misdemeanors.
Where were you getting your information from?
I just told you, the President of the United States.
So the President of the United States called you and told you this?
No, I watched his press conferences. He talked about this at length in the Oval Office yesterday.
But where was he? Okay, so all this information...
I'm sorry, Stephen, not Stephen Smith. I meant Stephen Miller. I misspoke. Stephen Miller.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your reliable source...
is the President of the United States. Yes, that's, right. Yes.
Okay, so if we go back, it's kind of laughable.
It's laughable that you would question that.
Would you allow me to talk? Am I allowed to do that?
You've been talking, and I'm talking about what you asked me about.
No, you're doing the talking. I want to talk some too. I mean, that's only fair, correct? We're not going to argue about that. But your reliable source, President Trump, who is,
here we go,
quote unquote, running the country,
a
man who is affiliated with some terrible people. Let's say, for instance, that Vince McMahon. Wait. No, hold on. You got to say your piece. You defend your.
Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon. Who's Vince McMahon?
I know he's a great man, Vince McMahon.
I know. Can I talk? I mean, because you're over talking.
It's called a conversation. It's called a conversation.
No, it's a conversation.
Vince. Okay, you said he's friends. You say he's friends with questionable people. You said Vince McMahon.
Yes. Vince McMahon. recently has been involved in a scandal with sex trafficking.
No, there was excuse me, no, it was not sex trafficking. It was not sex trafficking. No, it wasn't. It was, excuse me, it was, no, I do read up on it. Excuse me, I am speaking. Having sex with an employee is not.
Trump supporters that get buffer.
Here's
my situation.
I don't care about your situation. If you're gonna let me finish. Sex with an employee is not sex trafficking. But all these troll incels I get from, they anything that sex turns them off because women have rejected them. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Marcus, and I'm from California.
Hey, Marcus.
Hey, I wanted to talk about the transparency from the administration.
Yep.
It is pretty transparent. This is the most transparent administration in history as far as I'm concerned. I like it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Now, I think you're a fag. Have a good day.
No, don't go. Why go? Why go after that? Don't you want to talk about it? And this is an interesting thing that I'd like to, and I'm sorry that he hung up, because what I wanted to ask him was this. As a liberal, why would he consider it an insult for someone to be gay? I don't understand why a liberal would consider that an insult if someone is gay. I don't understand that. Well, You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right, you missed out. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Once, twice.
Yes, Chris.
Chris, I moved on, Chris. I was done talking to you. Stephen Miller is, I said Stephen Smith earlier. I meant Stephen Miller. This is him on Hannity last night. I love Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller and Tom Homan are my two favorites in the Trump administration. That's correct. That's right. It's crazy. That's right. Yeah. I mean, when the Democrat Party, I love Steve. You guys love Stephen Miller? Is he not the best? I love this guy. He'll be the chief of staff for the second MAGA president, or President Trump's third term. He'll replace Susie Wiles. The Democrats are openly advocating for the rights of criminals to do crime. Think about that. And they're threatening an uprising if he moves into Chicago to end crime there. What happened to the Democrat Party? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can.
I just want to say Trump doing an awesome job. I wish the news and the media would get behind him so we could get a little credit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Man,
Good afternoon, Brian. This is Nick.
Oh, hey, Nick. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Great show.
Thank you.
I'm amazed at all the facts you're bringing out and how these callers that are uninformed and unhinged.
Yeah.
I enjoy Scott from Massachusetts. Great caller.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got some great callers.
Oh, yeah.
But these liberals are really uninformed. They don't know history. They don't understand economics. And I'm just amazed. But I wanted to compliment you on something. And someone like myself who's done this, you know, albeit 30 years ago in radio, you're really very good.
Well, thank you.
Excellent.
I appreciate that.
I mean, and I'm not saying that to, you know, butter you up. I mean, really, I've been listening for a long time, and I've heard all of the, you know, I've heard a lot of talk show hosts, and you're like in the top two. You know, there aren't that many good talk show hosts.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot.
You know, I mean, you know, there was only one Rush, and I go back to the days, Brian, when we had, and I'm in Baltimore where we were a top 5 market at one time. We had Gene Burns. We had some really, really great. Yeah,
Gene Burns, that goes way back.
Way back, and you know, so I've been listening to talk radio since I was about 10 or 11 years old, and then I got into the business, and I will tell you, you know, and I remember Pittsburgh too, because I spent some time up there, and they had a great talk station. They had people like Joe Gehring and Perry Marshall and people like that, Jack Wheeler, and you're in league with those guys.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, I learned this craft from Steve Kane, and I was lucky to work with some very talented people when I was young, and you know, and and that does mean a lot. And I'll tell you, you know, this is the only show. You know, there's a lot of conservative big mouths that talk to cameras. And I'm here every day taking live calls that are screenless and unvetted live. So you never know what's going to happen or what's going to be said, and nobody else does that. And you know,
that's the key, Brian. What I wanted to tell you, in addition to all that, is that the thing about you is you're genuine, whereas a lot of these other guys are an act. You know, they're ex-disc jockeys that converted to talk. I mean, the only good disc jockey that went to talk, in my opinion, was Rush Limbaugh.
That's right, Rush Limbaugh. Yep, that's right.
Most people most good talk show hosts, excellent talk show hosts, have a news background, and you have, and plus you know, you're with Steve Kane, who's a news guy, and he worked with Joe Pine,
Bob Grant, and all that.
Bob Grant and Dick Cavett, you know. People like that, and that it shows. And I just wanted to tell you. I've wanted to tell you that for a long time.
Well, no, I appreciate that, Nick. I do appreciate that. Yeah.
And you have a great show, and we appreciate it.
Well, take care, Nick. I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Now, Nick, who happens to be one of my Patreon supporters, if you'd like to support all of my content, my YouTube channel, my podcast, everything I do, become a Patreon supporter. There's a link to my Patreon page in the description of the video, and the direct website address is patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. And if you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to a lot of things that nobody else ever sees. Videos, vlogs I do, commercial-free editions of my podcast, and a whole bunch more. And I post things there, as does my wife, on my Patreon page, that I post nowhere else, anywhere. Including some incredible news I got about the Brian Craig Show podcast today. I posted up there for Patreon supporters. So those of you that are Patreon supporters, go look what I posted. I got incredible news about the Brian Craig Show podcast that just blew my mind when I got that information. If you become a top Patreon supporter, you get your name up on the screen and a live on-air shout-out on every episode. I want to thank SFjr, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, who you just heard from, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, and Janice. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. Again, there's a link to my Patreon page in the description of the video. Well, we've had some great calls. I'll see you guys tomorrow. My name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks